Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Deepblocks webinar. My name is Michael Cavone. I'm your Chief Revenue Officer, and I'll be guiding you this week as we explore Long Beach, California, and Manhattan Beach, California. And again, continuing with our theme over the last few weeks, we are going to be demonstrating how we do instant canvassing of cities. We're going to be scanning these cities and these markets and show you in a matter of minutes how we can refine our search from thousands and thousands of parcels just down to a handful of development opportunities. And we can select a few of those parcels and then go through the preliminary underwriting and do a 3D modeling, massing, and go through with that financial 1 year back at the envelope return on cost financial analysis, enter in assumptions on the income side, the cost side, as well as enter in some setbacks and try to optimize that parcel. But the main focus, as we've been kind of showing and illustrating each and every week in the most recent weeks, is how we can really maximize the use and capitalize on Deepblocks site selection tool. And that's our interface where we allow you to, again, go through thousands and thousands of parcels and in just a matter of time, in a matter of minutes, narrow those results down to just a handful of parcels and, quickly navigate through the particular city to find these development opportunities. Before we kind of jump in, we're going to give a few more minutes, let some more people join us at any moment throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask a question. If you have any questions at the end of the webinar and want to touch base with me, please feel free to reach me at michael@deepblocks.com. And we can either set up a one-on-one demo, a phone call, exchange emails, and kind of discuss what you need from the software and how we can, again, optimize the software for your particular use. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to first jump into what I like to do each and every week, and that is kind of explore our website and the different resources at your disposal. And here we are at deepblocks.com. Again, you'll notice that we have our city section, webinars, tutorials, and pricing. And I'm just going to quickly jump into the cities section. And you'll notice that we're currently in 100 cities throughout the United States with zoning data. Just again, a nice general background on Deepblocks. We are converging various different types of data sets. We have a very rich real estate database. Zoning is one of our key components of our data sets, where we're in, again, 100 cities. That's represented with the red dots throughout the United States, and we're continue to expand upon those cities and add more cities with zoning. The blue dots represent all the areas where we have parcel level information. We're in 1,100 plus cities with parcel level data. So even if you do not have zoning, you still can go to the cities within those blue dot areas and still use our software to search for parcels based on parcel criteria, so demographic criteria. And again, with the zoning information in the cities with zoning, you can search and enhance your search with the zoning capabilities that we provide with that criteria. But again, upon selecting parcel, or selecting multiple parcels with our assemblage tool, or drawing a parcel within a larger parcel to subdivision or whatever it may be, you can then go into our preliminary underwriting in what we call our Explorer interface to run feasibility studies very quickly, and again, generate a financial analysis of 1 year back of the envelope return on cost, as well as from that point, you can export to PDF a nice 4-page report to review the various iterations in the feasibility studies that you were performing on that particular parcel. So again, I do appreciate you joining us this week as we get to explore Long Beach, California, and Manhattan Beach, California. And the reason what I've been trying to do each week is kind of reach out to different markets and different cities throughout the country, just to show you how we are standardizing the process of searching for development opportunities. So anywhere from a major city like New York or Miami down to some smaller areas, cities, and some secondary markets, you can start to use our tool no matter what the city is. And again, where we have zoning, you can really enhance your search to find these opportunities and go through the site selection process very quickly and scan those markets and what we call instant market canvassing And then again, upon selecting those sites, go through that feasibility study to optimize that parcel and development play. So with that being said, let's get this started. We're going to now jump in and just, again, a couple other areas, in addition to the cities, we have our webinar section where we upload the webinars from previous weeks. Always feel free to reach out to me if you need a link to the past webinars. We have our tutorial section, which includes 30 to 60-second clips of videos to just kind of show you some key functionalities and an instruction on how to use the software. And lastly, our pricing, which is broken down into 3 different subscriptions: $5,400 per city for our local subscription, $18,000 per state for our state subscription, and $36,000 for the national license. These are all annual subscriptions. Please feel free to call me to discuss pricing, or you can email me at michael@deepblocks.com if you want to get a demo, a free trial, as well as discuss pricing further. All right, so let's get this started. Here we are on my dashboard where we save all our projects. And we're going to click search engine and we're going to jump right into it. Like I said, we're going to be exploring Long Beach, California. And let's see, here it is. All right. Now, just to get a little background on the computer I'm using currently. The browser I'm using is Google Chrome. We are a SaaS product, so you can use it on any browser in any location, but we always recommend using Google Chrome. I'm currently on a 24-inch monitor. Again, the bigger the monitor, the more you can capture in terms of parcels and truly scan the market faster. So the bigger your monitor, the more you can really fit into the screen, into your viewport. Another way of enhancing that is I like to zoom down to a 75%, so that it gives me even more capacity to search and scan a market. As we kind of begin your search, I like to minimize these panels so we can really get a good view of the entire screen and really see everything that's going on. And you'll notice that the blue outlines represent the parcels in this particular part of Long Beach. And we can, again, move the screen north, south, east, or west. And as we begin our search, and as we'll show you shortly, everything will update automatically. The software is very intuitive and it's very simplistic to use with a very powerful impact. So before we kind of jump into the actual search of Long Beach, I like to kind of get a nice little overview, what I like to call a macro level view or a high level view of what we're seeing in the marketplace in Long Beach. So one of the recommendations are two extremely powerful map layers we provide is our buildable area ratio layer, as well as our unit density layer. You also can activate our opportunity zones to kind of see what opportunity zones are in certain parts of Long Beach if they're available. We could also activate zoning. So for instance, we could turn the opportunity zones, we could kind of focus our search in these particular areas. These are great overlays. We have our zoning, so you can kind of see all the zoning codes throughout a particular area, as we kind of move the screen around just to kind of give you an idea. But one of the key layers I really like to look at is buildable area ratio. What this allows us to do is get a good idea of where we're seeing pockets of density and where we're seeing good development potential. Any layer that we show here, you'll notice in the market scanner panel, we have a map legend that shows you how that data is sourced, as well as how this data is represented on the screen. And this is kind of our index that we built of buildable area ratio. So you'll see the orange is kind of a 4 to 7.5 index. So it's a strong pocket density for this particular market. So we can maybe focus in on this particular part of Long Beach in this area as well. And we might even want to drop down here also. So where we might see even adjacent areas to some pockets density, you will see some growth potential because the neighboring areas might be developing as well in a growth spurt. So another great layer I love to turn on is unit density. Also gives you just a little bit of an idea of where we're seeing, where we can maximize units allowed. This is a little bit more prominent in some of the bigger cities. And just to kind of get an understanding, the orange represents where we see units allowed anywhere from 10 to 100, where the yellow is basically less than 10. So these are all going to be a little bit smaller multifamily plays, but that's perfectly fine because there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of opportunities with these mid-level multifamily development plays. So But you can notice that this area over here and these little pockets of orange do represent a little bit larger multifamily plays or areas where we could find some larger multifamily plays. So again, between this buildable area ratio and then our unit density layer, we can kind of get an idea of where we want to focus. So we can kind of start in this particular area of Long Beach, and kind of move our way around, but also not only let that's just a kind of a guide and a way to begin your search, but as we kind of zoom in a bit, we can also turn on some of our layers in the people section. For instance, our median income. We can look at median income throughout this particular area of Long Beach to see where we want to hone in on, if we're looking to do a more high-end play versus a affordable housing play, or whatever it may be that we're trying to develop. But this is always a great layer, as well as population understanding. And this is all broken down by census tract throughout the particular city that we're looking at, and employment percentages as well. We can also look at residential rates. We take an aggregate of listing data throughout the entire country. We break it down by census tract, and we use our machine learning to bring a strong dollar per square foot rental rate that we're seeing in the residential market. We do the same thing for hotel, office, retail, and industrial. So again, they're just very useful ways of understanding the marketplace. So again, depending on what type of development play we're looking for, I mean, today I'm going to kind of do more of a higher end multifamily play here in Long Beach. So maybe looking in this $3.22 per square foot area at 349. And what you can always do is you can kind of overlay it over the buildable area ratio. So again, we see that orange that we were looking at earlier falls right into that higher dollar per square foot marketplace. But even here, we get $2.53. So we might be able to jump between these two regions and kind of scan between here and here. But again, we can move around a little bit, see where else there is some opportunity to develop throughout Long Beach. So with that being said, let's kind of continue to zoom in a bit. We're gonna get the parcels appearing. We will begin our search, find some parcels for multifamily development play. That's kind of what my main purpose for this is. We're gonna look for, again, scan the market for multifamily development. We're gonna try Long Beach first, then we're gonna jump into Manhattan Beach, which is not far away, and kind of look at those two cities, and again, just kind of demonstrate how fast we can scan markets with Deepblocks. All right, so here we go. I'm going to turn on my market scanner. And now this is just to kind of go quickly through the panels. Here's our tool set where we can search in this particular view. We also can turn on our satellite layer. This allows you to select one parcel at a time. This lets you select multiple parcels, creating an assemblage. Here's our draw parcel tool, so we can always draw a parcel within a parcel or however we want to set it up. We can either search by our zoning districts if you know your zoning codes. We also have our uses allowed, which is a little simpler way of searching. So say, again, we're looking for multifamily plays. We could search by multifamily dwelling. Each municipality kind of lists multifamily in different varieties. So we will select all the ones that kind of apply to multifamily. Now we'll notice we have these are in an opportunity zone. Now if we go back to our buildable area ratio, we don't have any in this particular part of Long Beach tied to multifamily at the moment. Let's see what kind of zoning we have. These are all, yeah, so this is all IG. So they're not going to be any residential in that particular area. So it makes sense. It's probably more of an industrial area of Long Beach. However, we can focus in this part and kind of start to scan the market over there, which is actually in an opportunity zone. So maybe we can take advantage of some tax incentives. All right, so we'll focus here at first. And we continue to refine our search. And again, just to see what that, we have 555 parcels matching. And you'll notice that we can export to see it as the minute anything is matching in the software with this green. Once the parcels are highlighted green, we can export to CSV every listing that is a match. But let's continue to refine that search and really see if we can find some opportunities. Now, units allowed, search for 10 to, let's say, maybe 50. And let's see what kind of results are. Right now, we're down to 3 parcels matching. So we have these parcels are zoned for multifamily play between minimum 10 units allowed up to 50 units allowed. So that gives us a nice little section of and some parcels to focus in on. So let's keep that there. Now, what I'm going to do is let's see if there's an existing building of less than 10,000 square feet. Nope, there is not. So these are going to be larger. And the reason we're looking for certain size existing buildings, this kind of just gives you an idea of what is currently on that particular parcel to see if it makes sense, if it's something we can either demolish and redevelop, or maybe it's relatively new. We can also check the street view once we select the parcels by simply selecting that parcel and kind of using the street view to scan the area to see what's going on in this particular area. It might just be this building right here, which something to consider. We could also look at this parcel. And this looks like they're actually already developing on it. So that gives you, or it could be this parcel actually. All right, so these just gives you a good indication of what we're seeing in a particular area, but I want to kind of continue my search a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more north. Let's see what else we're looking at here. Again, I'm going to turn on my median income layer as well, just to see what kind of parcels are matching. I'm going to turn the existing building on for 1 second. Let's see what comes up. Got nothing. All right. And I'm just quickly going to keep scanning the market a little bit just to see what else, any other parcels that match my criteria. And most likely it's going to be because we're looking for 10 to 50 units allowed. Let me just drop this to 5 and see what happens. All right, now we have 20 parcels matching. All right, so we have a little bit more possibilities in this particular area in the $71,000 median income. It's kind of moving. All right. Yeah, I'm just kind of playing around a little bit, going through the market, seeing if anything pops up. Yeah, one parcel matching. Let's see where that is at. Turn this off for 1 second. There it is right here in the corner. All right, let's see what we got here. So let's take a look at this particular one. Median income, not bad, 63,000. Older existing building of only 3,900 square feet. Currently, it's in zone for 21,000 square feet, and building height up to 28. We do up to 8 units, 2 stories. All right, so we have a possibility of taking advantage of this, and let's see if we can get an idea what's on this corner lot. All right. All right, so again, we have another parcel here, but I might go back to that southern part of Long Beach. I kind of want to really develop a little bit more than 10 units for this particular example. So let's go back to 10 to 50, and let's continue to work ourselves down into that area of Long Beach. And just make sure I continue to update. All right, here we go. So these were the parcels we saw earlier. Here's a couple more. We have 5 parcels. Let's look at this one. All right, so we have 11,000 existing. We can go up to 12 units here, 3-story, 36,000 square feet for gross buildable. All right, so then you can get now your uses breakdown. We can do restaurant with entertainment. So we might be able to do a little bit of a mixed use here, multifamily with some retail. Yeah, so let's play this one out for a little bit. Let's go through quickly that feasibility study and analysis, and then we'll jump over to Manhattan Beach and see what we can find over there in a similar fashion. So we're going to do a quick, again, I'm going to go through this on a quicker level just because I want to show you the ability to select a parcel and how we can do this, quickly see if we can optimize this particular parcel and see what makes sense for it. So you'll notice it does 100% lot coverage at first, but with all the information at our disposal for the zoning, we can kind of work this model and the income assumptions and cost assumptions to see what we can, to see if we can increase this ROC, this return on cost. But just to understand, the left side is your income, your inputs, and this just allows you to enter in the income assumptions, cost assumptions down here, and your adjust assumptions. But the define building panel allows you to enter in building height for floor height, typical floor height, and also our setbacks. So as you enter in information on these two panels, everything automatically updates on your back of the envelope, as well as your breakdown and assumptions. We are going to be giving you the ability to export out these assumptions into a CSV file very soon. At the moment, you can export this particular project to a PDF report. It's a nice little 4-pager to kind of show different iterations that you might be working on, or different parcels that you may have selected, to demonstrate, you kind of share with your colleagues or your investors to say, all right, here are 4 parcels I found based on our guidelines, and here is a way, some possible ways of optimizing them. Just a tremendous way of presenting and quickly showing that there's these opportunities that we can work on, and then you guys can agree on which one makes sense and move it along, and eventually bring it to the forefront and get the development started. So anyway, with that being said, let's look at the property info. Kind of the first things I always like to do is adjust the parking based on the zoning. And let's see. So parking by use, here's a little bit detailed, but let's just go off the top with 1 space per unit for 0 bedrooms and 1.5 per unit 1 or more. So let's go with 1.5, which is pretty typical. And the way we set up parking is it'll appear underneath at the moment. Now listen, you can always set up parking to be in a garage, or we can increase setbacks and do some surface area parking as well. Now let's work on our units for this particular project. I'm just going to do 2-bedroom for the sake of the example. Units allowed is 12.53. So we go to multifamily. Now, great thing we just added to this is you can now adjust these and label these however you want. So we want to break down a unit mix in a certain way. Say we want to do 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, whatever it may be. You can enter these labels however you see fit. So let's say we do 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2 bath, and then we'll do 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And we'll do, let's say, 6 and 6, just to keep it equal. And now what happens is we can go down here. You'll notice that this is automatically updated to my labels, and we can adjust these accordingly. So maybe we'll do a little bit bigger apartments for each one. We'll probably drop the amenities down to 1,500. All right, so that's in place. Next, we can kind of enter in our setbacks. Again, let's look at it. We got to just keep in mind of our let's see, we have number of floors is 3 stories, so we're only at 2 stories, which is great. Building height is 28 feet, and right now our building height is at 24 feet, so we have some wiggle room there. So now let's put our setbacks in place based on our parameters here. All right, so front is 15 or 5 adjacent to non-residential, 10. So let's just go with the standard of 15, 10, 10, and 20. And what we'll do is we're going to assign these setbacks accordingly. So this will be our primary. Leave that alone. Make this our rear. All right. And you can assign setbacks and assign these on any floor that you have. You can adjust setbacks uniquely to every single floor. You can actually use our measurement tools to kind of plot out and sketch out floor plans, or even if you want to sketch out the units a bit and see if 6 units make sense on each floor for each one that you're setting up. But I give you a tremendous amount of tools and flexibility to really work these parcels, and again, optimize and see what makes sense for your particular play. So again, based on the setbacks that we were looking at, we have, I believe it was 10, so 15, 10, 10, and 20. 15, 10, 10, and 20. All right, perfect. Now we're still at 3 floors. We got a nice little building here. We have some retail, and we can start to work this model a bit. Now let's maybe try to adjust this number to get the ROC up a bit. Right now, we do pull sub-market rates for this particular census tract, but again, we always leave these values to you and allow you to adjust accordingly based on the class type of building you are developing. You know, I also might reduce this a little bit to get the park. I want to see if I can get that parking. See if we can get that parking all on that back side. And the best way we can do it is through to adjust this a little bit. We can adjust the spaces a bit. So maybe do 300 for the average space, and that way the parking's all behind the retail, and then we have 2 stories of multifamily with some retail in front. And now again, we can adjust the income side of each apartment. So maybe we can get away with 2,200 for this particular, for the 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Actually, maybe we get 25, 2,600, and maybe for the 2-bedroom, 1-bath, we can get 2,200. All right, so it works that ROC up a little bit. Then we could also work on the retail side and go through this as well. We can maybe, you know, be careful how much we'll do about, say let's do 3,000 square feet. And you'll notice on the building, we have a little bit of multifamily on that first story, so we could go a little bit more, you know, do 3,250 of retail. And again, you can work these numbers a bit to see if we can get a little bit more money for retail lease income. Again, we are using machine learning to bring in market rates based on that particular census tract. But as I mentioned earlier, we always can adjust these where we see that maybe we can do a little bit better. Now let's go on to the cost side. Maybe we can get a little bit better price for this particular area. Maybe we can get it for 275. We got an existing building assumption. We got demolition costs. Now we have our hard costs. Again, we are bringing in, using our machine learning, a rate for this particular census tract, but we always state that you should double check these numbers just because costs are very difficult to calculate and bring into the system. So just to double check, I would look to verify certain numbers in your particular market, because cost is predicated on so many different line items that we're giving you a very vanilla number to kind of get a good overall understanding of. Maybe we can do 160 a square foot here. Maybe on the retail we can do 115. And again, as you kind of play with these numbers a bit, you'll see your ROC continue to increase, and you might get some benefit out of this particular parcel, a little mixed use multifamily place. So anyway, that is kind of the general premise of going through site selection and into the feasibility study. Then lastly, you could export it to PDF. This particular project, and keep this, and we can save this. And again, you can change the logo to your company logo, upload your own image, write your little summary for this particular product. Here's your property info, zoning limits and stacking plan, demographic trends for the particular area. And then lastly, your breakdown of assumptions and your 1-year back of the envelope return on cost. But just to kind of jump into Manhattan Beach, again, I just want to quickly demonstrate how we can go through the same exact process, which, as I mentioned, we're standardizing this search process to be performed in any city that we have throughout the country, especially with cities that we have zoning. So you'll notice that right away, parcels will start to appear because my search criteria was saved from the previous search. Now, the only thing I got to enter in is my uses allowed, but let me turn this off for 1 second, just to kind of give you a quick idea of how many parcels we're looking at here in Manhattan Beach. We got about 4,400 parcels in my viewport, and I'm going to reactivate. Let's say start with estimated units allowed. It's 10 to 50. Now let's also see their unit density. We have a couple that are in that red area. All right, so let's go. We can probably go a little bit higher. Let's see if we can find a couple 10 to, let's try 50 to 150 for this particular search, because maybe we can find a couple of good plays. Let's look for existing buildings, 500 to 15,000 square feet. All right, we got one right here. So we got one parcel, two parcels matching, one there and one there. All right, so we have some opportunity here between these two parcels. Let's see if they're zoned for multifamily. They are not. So we're going to continue to scan the market. Let me drop down this back to 10 for keep to our, okay, perfect. So right now we have 8 parcels matching. There we go, from 4,000 down to 8 very quickly that are zoned for multifamily. As you can see, 5 or fewer units. We have 10 to fit 150. So we have to go look at those parcels and see what else we have available. I also want to see what kind of, let's look at residential too. Okay. As I mentioned, each municipality kind of lists their use allowed differently. So you kind of need to go through each list in each city to see how they're assigning those uses for each parcel. But again, let's kind of scan that market real quickly. All right, so we have some more parcels appearing for, again, minimum of 10 units allowed up to 150, between 500 existing to 1,500. Now, just to show you, we always look for vacant land by putting zeros in here. However, I have a feeling with in Manhattan Beach, it's going to be a little more difficult to find vacant land. So let's stick with that 500 to 15,000. All right. So you can see we have quite a bit of parcels, 28 matching based on these particular pieces of criteria. Let's just select one, kind of see what's going on here. All right, you get your FAR, you get zone estimated units allowed, 13.99. Existing building is 10,000 square feet. We can possibly work on that. Here's a possible assemblage play. Let's look at these two over here. Turn this one off. Let's look at these two together. And with the assemblage, we'll start to combine. We got a nice median income of 158 on average, so a little higher income area. So we can see that quickly by turning on our median income. Yep, 158. It's a very high income area, which makes sense in Manhattan Beach. And we can see our total units are now 22. So this could be a nice little, again, assemblage play where we could do up to 22 units. Now let's see, the use allowed is residential, so we can do multifamily. We could also do, let's see if there's any other type of use. No, it looks like it just will be residential. So it would be a strictly multifamily play for this particular area. Let's see what else we have. All right, and a nice plot right here. So you can see we just continue to move around, scan the market. I mean, I'm not going to go through the feasibility study again for this particular example. I just want to kind of demonstrate, which I've been trying to do each week, is how we just pump in specific criteria and start to look to see what parcels are matching and have some potential. I mean, you can go about the search so many different ways. Again, if you're looking for certain lot sizes and acreage, it doesn't necessarily have to be one lot. It could be, as I just mentioned, an assemblage. So, for instance, let's look at these two parcels, which we'll get a total of 21,000 square feet, so almost half an acre right there. So again, say you were looking for half an acre, it does not have to be a search for just 22,000 square feet. You could be looking for multiple lots of 10,000 square feet and just try to create that assemblage. And again, the software allows you to do that. So you'll notice that our software, we can search by certain lot sizes. So say we're looking from 0 to 8,000, I'll put 8,500 square feet. Well, oops. Let's try that again. All right, so let's see why that dropped like that. Not sure why it's not picking up, but all right, because these lot sizes, that one's 10,507 square feet, and this one is 6,700 square feet. So, oh, sorry, that's also 10.5. So I'm not sure why those did not come up, but point is, you can normally enter in specific lot sizes, and that should represent. Let's see real quick. There we go. All right. So there you see the minimum 10.5. And then we have those two come up as well. So again, you can enter in your minimum and max lot size to also highlight quickly and find parcels based on a certain square footage that you're looking for as well. And we could now go through that preliminary underwriting and through the feasibility study and go through different iterations. So again, just on the recap, today we're focusing on two new markets that we just recently added at the end of last year, Long Beach and Manhattan Beach in California. And the main concept here is to be able to quickly scan these markets, and like we like to call the term instant market canvassing, to find these development opportunities. I mean, some other great layers that we can turn on are, we can turn on traffic count to kind of get an idea of the traffic flow in particular areas. We can turn on local businesses to see what type of local businesses are in the area. So there's a lot what might make sense for a great new multifamily play. So it allows you to quickly identify these parcels and, pump in your criteria to quickly, again, look for and identify parcels that make sense for your development opportunity that you're looking for, and kind of quickly scan that market and work it based on your criteria and applying some of these overlays to really just get a good feel of what makes the most sense. We also have our demographic trends you can always play with as well to get a good idea of the trends. We can focus in on a certain census tract. We can focus in, understand the population of a particular area, as well as employment per population, median gross rent, as well as median household income. So again, I really do appreciate you taking the time to join me this week as we continue that theme of instant market canvassing through Long Beach and Manhattan Beach. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions at michael@deepblocks.com. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.